Hello and welcome, finally, to the Spidey Dude Experience. This is Across the Spider-Verse review episode. I am Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster and host of the program. As always, before we get started, we gotta thank our patrons at patreon.com/Spidey Dude Network. Patrons such as Allison, Cindy, Ed, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jessica, Catherine, Kale, Keegar, Laura Howard, Master Drammond, Phoenician, Scott, Vanessa, and Vicky, as well as our VIPs, Scott, Sebastian, Vinkman, and Winnipeg Webhead. Thank you for your support of this show and all the great shows on the Spidey Dude Network. Great shows such as our Vault series, Clone Saga Chronicles, and Spectacular Radio. CSC was the show that started it all. Spectacular Radio was the first spin-off show. Then we had season 1 of Amazing Spider-Man Classics, season 2 being with Jack and Javi Trujillo, father and son duo talking about Spider-Man from the beginning. Salby Cinema Era podcast is also an audio show that we have over on spidey-dude.com that starts with the return of the Sin Eater all the way up until shortly before the Clone Saga, covering Salby Cinema's seminal run on Spectacular Spider-Man. Then we have Voices from the Eerie, a Gargoyles podcast, a show all about the Gargoyles animated series and the Gargoyles fandom. Then we have our sister show here on the Spidey Dude Radio Network's YouTube channel, Make Mine Matey, the show all about Spider-Girl and her world. And coming almost have our third episode out, Books of X, hosted by Neil Bogenreiter. That will be our X-Men related podcast that's exclusive to our Patreon subscribers after our initial 3-part pilot. So without further ado, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to the audio edition, leave us that 5-star review. And if you're watching us live here on YouTube, give us that like, that share, that subscribe. So thank you for watching. Also, we're going to make probably some references to visual aids and or live comments, as these are live streamed on YouTube. So if you're an audio listener, pay it no mind, pay no attention, and follow us on YouTube. Just past the 300 subscriber mark, which I'm very excited about. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm joined by Adam and the host of Voices from the Eerie, Greg Bashansky. Hello to both.
Hello.
Hey.
We are so sorry that the stream started about 45 minutes later than I intended. Thanks to a bunch of computer problems at the last minute between myself and Greg. We really... had some issues. So we've got people on the watching us live. So hello, we got some people on the Comic Binge YouTube. We've got and we are simulcasting on the Comic Binge this week. Paul could not be here. He did do a review, so if you've not watched the review, I highly encourage you guys to go back and watch it. If you are on the Spidey Dude Radio Network and you're not subscribed over to the Comic Binge YouTube channel, link is down in the description below. We got some people on YouTube. We got some people on Facebook. Hello, everyone. So thank you for watching. Yeah, I know this was let's talk about it. So originally we were going to do this on Monday, and then not everybody had seen the film, and then pushed it back to Wednesday, and then it ended up pushing back to Friday. So yeah. So I know you missed sorry. I know you guys missed because of Trime Stream. So hello. Okay. I'm gonna keep this part spoiler free, but if you're watching this review, we're gonna be doing spoilers. What is your grade for the film? Adam, you first.
Oh, that's hard. Probably a solid. I'd probably give it like a solid A, maybe an A minus, but probably maybe more so an A. Why not? I don't know. It's
Greg.
definitely top. It's top 5. I would say.
I give it an A minus. I thought it was really great. I have a few minor quibbles here and there, but they're really just that, quibbles. And it's nice to be back here to talk about a Spider-Man story that I actually enjoyed. The reason I've been sitting out of Spidey Dude experience is just because I haven't been enjoying the Zeb Wells run, so I haven't been reading it. But I am back in a comic book store for the first time in a very long time. Obviously, I'm buying Gargoyles. I'm going to be buying Dark Ages, and I'll be buying JMS's Captain America when that starts in September. So if there's any other good titles out there right now, feel free to throw me some recommendations to anyone here or in the audience listening. I will take note of them.
Okay. Well, Walter, I understand given your health battle, not wanting to venture out. Okay. Matthew says he gives it a 7 out of 10, was not a fan of the second half. So I watched it with my dad and my daughter. My daughter said it was the best movie ever, and she really loved Spider-Gwen. My dad didn't like the ending.
I like the ending, honestly.
I do too.
Because, and he felt like it was a little long.
Maybe it. I didn't feel necessarily like it didn't seem to drag to me. Really, it maybe felt long, but not boring. I guess
It wasn't a boring movie, but I mean, they crammed a lot into this. They give it an A minus. So we've been getting A's, A minus by Vinkman. Tevye gives it an A plus. Obviously, the stuff with Mayday with Tevye is with involving Mayday and Baby Mayday. And granted, me and Kelly, we'll definitely probably talk about that on Make My Mayday. I have some quibbles. I have one big quibble.
It's like, get over it.
No.
Is it coming from the
I'm
same
having
sort
a
of
hard
area?
time, man.
Is it coming from the same sort of area that mine might be?
Just let it wash over you. Like, it's
Listen,
fine.
Okay.
He's not the star of the movie, all right?
I know he's not. I know he's not. But my quibble is Ben Reilly. And here's why. I get the joke of him being the angsty, I'm the 90s and everything's dark. But it's not. I was annoyed slightly with that's how they're going to do this. Secondly, though, Andy Samberg's voice did not fit me for me. I didn't, with Haley Steinfeld and Shamik Moore, I buy them as their characters, right?
Sure,
I didn't necessarily buy. I felt like I was hearing Andy Samberg. Does that make sense?
No, yeah, I get that. Sure.
And so I'm curious. I love the design though. His design is great. His design is fantastic. It is everything that I wanted. I mean, it's like the love child of Stephen Butler and Tom Lyle together. Yep. The colors are great. It was really great. That's probably my biggest con, and it's not really a con. I enjoyed seeing Ben on screen. I loved the cameos. Josh Keaton got to be in the film. I really liked that.
We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, because Greg was like, I'm going to have to dust off this old chestnut.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back and consider this also partially an unofficial episode of Spectacular Radio. We've got one person from that show here. Mr. Gerard isn't.
Yeah, pretty much. Should Zach get headphones with... No, Walter, I don't need to get headphones with cat ears. Shut up. Yeah, I mean, he calls me hoodie lover. Of course I'm a hoodie lover. I'm a Ben Reilly fan, man.
It's now official merch.
Is that the same Walter who was before my time with this fandom?
Yes.
Oh, congrats. Nice.
Yeah.
He's in good health, Walter. I've heard about you.
So that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
As Dan Slott would call him back in the day. That's a deep cut. Clone Saga Chronicles fans. Little editor's note there. But no. So look, I will take this bit version of Ben Riley over Chasm. Yes, I understand. Beggars should not be choosers. The fact that the hoodie. So I tried to get the hoodie. I went to Hot Topic. It's back ordered until October. They never even
you will have that hoodie. You will have it by the end of the year, I am certain.
I'm going to try to get that hoodie, and I will wear it every stream. It will be my unofficial uniform. So look, I am super excited about the fact that we got Ben Riley. I was very surprised at how much they adapted Spider-Gwen. I am struggling whether or not to touch the third rail debate that's been going on.
I don't know.
Because I don't get it.
All I'll say is the colors in her world, a lot of those are the colors that are on her costume.
Yes.
That's how I'll touch on that.
And they basically...
I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this debate is.
Okay, so let me... Because I brought it up. It's my fault. Yeah. So there has been a certain group on the internet that has claimed that Gwen Stacy is trans. There's a some trans flags and stuff like that are in the background in her room. But basically they were adapting directly from the comic, and I just don't see anything to indicate that she is.
Well, you know what? Let them. You know, if it makes them happy and they're seeing something that helps them out, if it makes them happy, you know what? Let them. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, there's nothing to indicate that she's a trans woman. Yes, because I mean that again, that flag is fairly recent, so it's a fairly recent phenomenon specifically. It does not hamper my enjoyment of the movie whatsoever. But it is something that's being discussed amongst the fandom, and there is a trans Spider Woman. I mean, it's the Ultimate Spider Woman's technically a transgender Spider Woman. So, like, had they just used that character, you could easily, explain that, and she would be in Miles's world. That would be something that would make Miles feel a little bit less alone.
For the record, everyone, this is not a larger comment on anything. It's just comic accuracy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, again, like I said, it does. If Lord and the guys come out and say it, that yes, she is.
Sure. Yeah. Why not?
Okay. Then I'm like, all right, whatever. But all indications to me is that it's, it's reading into something that isn't necessarily there. Which, I mean, we have those discussions. I've had those discussions with Mayday fans, because there's some people that want Mayday to be gay.
we're hardcore fans. We all do things like this to a certain extent.
Yeah, listen.
I will say that I can see, as a fairly, as just a guy that I am, I can because I had heard about this going into the movie, so when I watched it, I can see why people have this interpretation of it, because it can fit if, whether it is that or not. It depends on, what the creators say, I guess, but it definitely, you can read that subtext into it. It seems like there's a lot of there seems to be like a a struggle throughout the movie. Well, with Miles too, of just uh,
Excuse me.
a kind of a coming out narrative. It seems to me like the struggle with wanting to tell your loved ones, who you really are, but not but feeling feeling the hesitation, like the fear of
Mhm.
doing that, like will they still accept me if I'm if I if I tell them the truth. So I totally get where people are coming from,
Mhm.
but yeah.
Yeah, well, and look, I mean, there is obvious similarities between a secret identity and coming out as LGBT. There is that parallel that runs parallel, and so I did feel like I didn't know if we should touch on it, but I think us touching on it, I think we can move on.
We're trying to do it as respectfully as we can here, so don't like
Yeah, don't come after us for we're trying.
we're on your side, all right?
Yeah,
Like
like I mean, again, like some like
I was muted. Interpret it however you like, whatever makes you happy. At the end of the day, art belongs to the audience also, and it's how you interpret that art.
exactly.
So, like Misery Brick says, if it makes a portion of the audience happy, sure, hit candidate, but there's nothing in those scenes outside of the color palette that relates to it. Yeah, and
That's a fair interpretation.
Justin Shields says, Zach, even after Across the Spider-Verse, I still don't trust Sony with live action Spider-Man. Remember Sony from 2014 trying to make an Aunt May spy movie, an Aunt May movie. Well, don't Geeks and Gamer. Oh man, come on, don't put me in that.
We wouldn't do that.
God. God, I want to punch those guys sometimes. Don't cancel me, YouTube. So again, I listen. They adapted directly from the comic Spider-Gwen story. I thought they did a great job bringing that to light. I was surprised how much of this movie was a Spider-Gwen movie.
That kind of took me aback a little bit because I think I was expecting, Miles continuing on from Miles's thing right off the bat, but we get bookended with Spider-Gwen, and that's cool. It sets up the Spider Society, and it sets up the next one. So
yeah. So, I know some people are having issues with 2099. What do you guys think about this interpretation of Miguel?
I think everyone's having at least one, a bigger or a larger, small interpretation of their personal favorites. I wasn't a big 2099 reader. I read a little bit of it, and I know he's a bit more of a dick than most Spideys. So
yeah,
He is. uh, what do you think, Adam? You guys just
I liked Oscar Isaac's performance.
yeah.
Everybody's performance was top notch. Of course, I have a crush on Haley Steinfeld. So.
Except Andy Samberg.
Yeah,
he did well with the material he was given.
It was funny. Fun. It was funny.
He did fine, but as a Ben Reilly fan, I was a little annoyed.
We'll talk about Spectacular when we get to spoilers.
Okay, what did you think of? Because you just reread the first 12 issues for Comic Binge, Spider. Adam, what do you think of 2099?
I mean, it's interesting. It does feel like, I guess they felt like he would be the guy to, I guess they felt like if there was going to be some kind of antagonistic spider person, it would be him. And I mean, maybe I can see it. That first year or so of those comics are interesting because he is a bit more of a dick outside the suit, more so than being like a jokey guy in the suit like Peter can be, and that's like the inversion.
Right.
I mean, sometimes like because he's got like a very like sarcastic personality, and I guess that's totally Peter David. Um, I mean, he's a little more stoic it seems in this and reserved, and he's like, oh, it's he's got like he's bearing the ultimate responsibility burden, keeping this timeline these timeline things in check. So I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting interpretation. Um, it seems like I guess I feel like the whole Spider Society thing is just like, oh, it's plot stuff. It's to like keep the plot going because this is Miles's movie and he's our main protagonist. Uh, and this is kind of this is like a kids movie. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it does. I think some of this like simplistic it kind of is like a simplistic good versus evil thing, but there is nuance because a lot of people are like, oh well, why are these guys all following Miguel and his thing? I don't know. I feel like it is kind of just a plot thing. It's a means to an end, but I mean, I don't know.
And,
I'm
and
I'm
let's
kind
also
of
be,
I'm
and
kind of
let's also be
rambling here,
honest. Yeah, let's also be
but
honest. This is better than a lot of the live action MCU movies.
that's true. I will say, like, I think it's an interesting choice to make him the main antagonistic spider guy person. I think I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe like this is. I guess maybe this could be like what Miguel would be like in the future if he was allowed to be Spider-Man for more than just the year 2099. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, I
But
mean,
I don't know.
he's an antagonist. So I wouldn't call him a villain.
Yeah, he's not a villain. He's just
And,
he
and that's
has
where I know some people were like
his
worried coming in.
yeah.
He's definitely an antagonist. He's not the villain. The villain is Spot. Spot's the villain.
And
We'll
good.
talk about him in a bit, and I like him.
I do want to address a couple of the comments. At Spidey Radio Network, do you feel about 90s Spider-Man not being included? How do I feel? To me,
Maybe you'll be in the next one.
there is so many cameos that they couldn't fit every.
There's too many.
They weren't going to be able to fit every cameo in. Okay, like there were certain ones they wanted to fit in. They fit in the 2017 Spidey. They fit in Spidey Unlimited. He got a pretty prominent like cameo role.
Yeah, you could see him.
None
a
of
lot
them
in
were
there.
speaking roles, right? So you get into the speaking role, which Greg, this kind of tee you up. Obviously, we had certain ones. Josh Keaton, Spectacular Spider-Man. I mean, looks just like Sean's design. They did a great job interpreting his design and bringing that aboard. I love the Lego Spider-Man. That was fun.
That was funny.
No, that was great. I love that.
Beep boop.
That
My
was
mom and sister love that.
I love that they brought in J.K. Simmons for Jonah.
Yeah, there was a lot of that in there. I think they use like a little. I think in the Lego world they use a thing from the first Raimi film, but like there's a lot of like new dialogue that he does in news reports, which was cool.
They also did. They incorporated some live action into it, which I wasn't expecting. Well, I wasn't expecting it. Somebody at the studio must love Unlimited, must have like a soft spot for Unlimited, because the amount of like
it's a great costume.
It's a fun, yeah. I mean, it only appeared in one comic too. So and considering how much Counter Earth we've already seen, Counter Earth and the Animen now in the MCU,
right?
Which is kind of wild.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that my favorite High Evolutionary.
Yeah, well, I actually like this High Evolutionary bet. That movie's High Evolutionary better than the one from the comics. So,
well, I mean, that's a very low bar.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
Also, hey, speaking of, let's be grateful for someone who wasn't there. A certain Spider-Man who is who was on the run for child endangerment?
Oh God.
Which
The
one?
worst Spider-Man.
We're just going all in tonight.
Yes, we are.
Who's the worst Spider-Man?
Drake
Talking about-
Bell.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Ah! Ultimate Spider. I mean,
Did you see
yeah.
did you see the talking point that this was justice for Josh Keaton after being dubbed over by that guy in Avengers?
I mean, listen, because he talked about that on Twitch, didn't he? On a Twitch
He
stream.
did, yeah.
About how nobody told him until he went and watched the episode.
Oh, I believe that. That's standard practice for that business.
Thank you, Jeff Loeb. That's all you need to know. That's how that happened. Was Jeff Loeb. Hello, Andrew. It's okay. Sorry you're late. We were late, so it's fine.
Always late.
Listen, Venkman. I don't need your sass. Thank God we didn't see
Sass and Venkman.
Spider-Man. Mangaverse Spider-Man showed up. I mean, look, again, there's going to be a bunch of...
I want to see the big mech in the next one from Japanese Spider-Man.
God, I hope
yeah,
so.
I mean,
They sorted, I remember like in the promotional stuff, like that teaser that they did years ago, like one of the little logos looked like the Spider-Man logo kind of. So hopefully we see him next time.
So again, Justin I think you posted this on Twitter about how you wanted to see John Semper's Spider-Man. Again, look, I would love to see it. I would love to see the 90s Spidey. I would love to see Christopher Daniel Barnes come back. Am I going to hold my breath? No.
On the other hand, is the world ready for John Semper's egogasm if that happens?
Dude. I was a little irritated, though, that Tom and Ron were not in the acknowledgements.
Well, no one was.
I was actually, actually, that was probably one of my cons, was that there was like a ton of like, nobody got acknowledged as like a special thanks.
Maybe the next
Peter David did. Peter David did at least.
Well,
okay.
Thank God.
And
hopefully he gets a nice. Hopefully somebody sends him a nice fat check to help pay for his medical expenses. Which, if you have not donated to his GoFundMe,
he's a good guy and one of the best Spider-Man writers around. Plus, the world owes him. Comic fandom owes him for that time he had to debate a shirtless Todd McFarlane. Look that up.
That's a deep cut. What about 60 Spider-Man?
That was fun.
I like that. That was great.
That was great. The 60 Spider-Man was fun. I mean, the spots where they did hop to was phenomenal. The way that they were able to blend different styles and make it work. On the surface, I don't know if they could have done this 5 years ago.
No. As
ambitious as this film is, I don't know if they could have done what they accomplished. The amount people are like, well, this should be, I had a friend that's a critic that says, that the Oscar, that's going to be really hard to top this film. Sure. I mean, this is art. Like, all the animation is art. Like, I nutty stuff. Look, I hope it gets. Phenomenal. I hope it gets all the flowers. Okay. I mean, if it doesn't win Best Animated, like,
it has to.
Will anything top this? Yeah,
I don't think so. And I'm going to go on a little bit of a
basically
ramble.
It's a dead heat between Mario Brothers and this. And
Mario was fun, but that's not going to win it.
That can't. Like, I didn't see it. I mean, it looked good,
fun.
But I don't know. This is just there's so much.
This is on a whole other level.
There's so much just talent, and I'm not saying like that to disparage the Mario movie or any of the other animated movies that are going to come out this year, but there's just so much, style in this.
All these techniques, all these new techniques. I mean, I've been an animation fan all my life. Western animation, some anime, Pixar and stuff. I mean, I enjoy this. I'm very enthusiastic about animation. I do not know how they did some of these techniques in the movie, and I know professional animators, people work in that business. I talked to them about it after they had seen it. They were in awe of this thing. Also, they have no idea how some of these shots are pulled off, and which is and because animation is just as legitimate a form of storytelling as live action, I think. Which, by the way, is why I'm really happy that this thing kicked the ass of The Little Mermaid at the box office. Okay, it has nothing to do with the actress. The actress is doing a fine job. She sings the song quite well. I am morally opposed to these live action remakes on principle because to me it's saying we're ashamed of animation. Let's move it over to live action. Isn't it more serious now? Isn't it better?
There were certain ones you could pull it off. I didn't feel like Little Mermaid was one of those. And it had nothing to do with the casting.
No, from my understanding, she did a great job. She sang that song phenomenally. So it's not nothing to do with her. I wish her success.
You know, everything, and I haven't seen it yet, but everything that I've
read, have a daughter, you will.
Oh, yeah. But you're right. I mean, I don't. I'll be honest. I don't know if I've watched outside of Aladdin. I don't know if I've watched any of them. Like, I have no desire to go. I didn't even go see Lion King, and I love Lion King.
I saw part of the quote unquote live action Lion King. It was all done on a computer. There was nothing live action about this thing, and it was a scene where Scar kills Mufasa, and there's no expression, no personality, nothing in those lions.
I know
they're trying to look photoreal. They're trying to look photoreal, but no.
Like that story doesn't need to be photo. It's like, what's the point? What's the point of that story being photoreal?
Cash grab, and
sure,
it's so obviously a cash grab to me, and that's the frustrating part. So okay, got to talk about Peter B. Parker.
Oh,
because
love that guy.
Me too.
I knew going in that he didn't show up until about halfway through the movie.
Yeah, we were actually told some things like last week about the film. So
before we went and saw it, not going to say who told us because I don't want them to get in trouble. But there were some things that were, and it was very vague.
Yeah, just small stuff,
very vague stuff. So Peter B. Parker, Mayday, loved it. I did enjoy. My kind of quibble with that was pretty much saw most of what our Mayday Peter B. Parker stuff in the trailer.
That's all that is in the trailers and the TV spots. So.
Mayday took a crap.
That was so good. Oh man,
she was great. I love the bit where she pulls the mask.
Oh my god.
I mean, she was fantastic. Peter B. Parker was great. The scene of the escape I thought was incredibly well done. I loved Miles' story here. Miles' story to me was great. Him feeling all alone, him being the reason they didn't want to, bring him in and have him involved is because he is, the ultimate.
Keep going, Zach. Oh, I want to kind of jump off what you're about to say because I think that might be my biggest problem with the film, but continue.
Him being treated the way he's treated, I get what kind of happened. However, it does kind of retcon a little bit of the film, does it not? Of the first film?
The first one? Perhaps.
I think they were vague enough that it's
I'm I'm interested
A
to see
little.
Earth 42. Don't misunderstand. It's
Oh,
an
I love
interesting
that.
concept.
I love that, honestly.
Um, but I I don't know, man. That
Let
part.
me here's what I'll say. We're all right. I want to say we're going like fully into spoilers now.
Yeah,
So
let me put the banner right quick because I spoilers ahoy. While you
yeah.
two are talking, I'll be right back. So
So I think the one thing that I didn't like necessarily about the movie was they mentioned that Spot basically doing his multidimensional experience at Alchemax, he plucked out the spider that bit Miles. He plucked it out of Earth 42, and so it bites Miles in the first movie, etc., etc. Now that at the time, when that is revealed, that didn't really bother me that much. But as we keep going on, and they say like Miguel's like, oh well, you're an anomaly. Like you weren't supposed to get bitten by the spider. That was for Earth 42. You were never supposed to be Spider-Man, and now Earth 42 doesn't have a Spider-Man. That kind of bugged me a little bit because I thought it was tying Miles a little too much into the multiverse. Like his origin is now kind of, like he in this version of, and because I really liked the first movie how they did that. Um and I've read like the first year or so of his comics recently, and it's a fairly grounded thing, spider bite and everything. It's typical Spider-Man stuff. So I liked what they did in the first movie, and like having him be tied to the multiverse in this way, it loses, I think, some of that groundedness that I personally enjoy from Spider-Man. Um and I didn't like the whole thing like, oh, you're not supposed to be Spider-Man. That seemed kind of like too, it was too, like, I don't know, like we're going into like all the debates and stuff. I saw some kind of like headline that said that the movie is kind of like a meta commentary on like the Spider-Man fandom or something, and I don't know, like that kind of thing. It's just the whole idea, like, because I don't have a problem with Miles being Spider-Man. I really like, I mean, it's fine. He can be Spider-Man. There's a whole bunch of them out there, like fine. But just like tying it into the multiverse in this way and saying like, oh, you're an anomaly. You're not supposed to be Spider-Man in the movie. And I know like he's pushing, the whole movie is him pushing back against that. And I like that stuff. But it's just that whole aspect of it. I'm like, it loses something for me.
Two things.
However,
Okay, go
however,
on.
I love what they did when he, at the end of the movie, he is transported to Earth 42, and he faces the inverse version of himself, who is potentially a villain, question mark, and he's the Prowler. I love that. I think, you know, they've been doing like these evil Miles things. I wasn't even thinking about like the clone saga that they did with him in the comics recently, because I haven't read that at all. But my first thought with that was when Bendis, teased the 616 Miles, and then we kind of got the Spider-Man 2 thing with that, and that I didn't really read that, but that seemed kind of like, like that's whatever. But this, I like this. I like this, this alternate Miles, essentially, partnered with his uncle, becomes the Prowler. Perfect. That's great. That's how you do it. That brings, that takes me off the ledge a little bit with the whole like, oh, the multiversal spider, and you know all, and the like, oh, you're the anomaly and all that. Like it makes me accept it more if we get this, like, this, confrontation, continuing on into the next one. So that's my spiel on all that.
Okay, to respond to your spiel, a bit about the meta commentary. This is one of those cases where it's art. People are going to read into it what they want to
Sure.
read into it. I'm not entirely
Yeah.
sure that's there purposely. I mean, it could be. I mean, looking at it, I can see where they're coming from, and I don't disagree because I remember those debates when Miles debuted. Boy, do I remember them. And I wasn't reading his book then. It had nothing to do with him. I just wasn't a fan of Bendis. I'm still not. So I wasn't reading it. I love Miles' story here, but and maybe it was good there. I don't know. All I know is I enjoy his story here in these movies. But as for his origin being tied in with the multiverse, you know what? That makes the hero thematic to this particular series of movies, which is a multiverse
That's
series. So
true.
so he's becoming representative of what this entire series is about. And from a literary perspective, English major again, I get that. I get why they would do that.
Yeah. I just like I don't know, I like it. I like him being more grounded, you know. I don't know, just it like the spider, you know. I mean, I guess it's all what you do with it, but I like it being like, oh, I think in Ultimate, like, oh, they had a bunch of different spiders and one happened to bite him like that. Yeah, okay, fine. But then it's like,
Right.
well, there's a spider for every, Earth in the multiverse, and like it ended up the
Where's
wrong
our
spider.
Spider-Man?
Yeah. It's just some cosplayer.
No, he's Christopher Daniel Barnes. Isn't that what John Semper did for us? I'm an actor that plays you on TV.
I should like, clarify that like this whole idea of it being meta commentary, like I know that like this isn't like the creators saying this, like, but I saw like an article that I didn't read, unfortunately, but like it was just the headline said something about, oh, this is a commentary on the fan, like this, like the movie is, commenting on the fan base or something. I'm probably just like, talking out of my ass. I don't really know what I'm talking about, but it's just like that idea that it, because I saw that, and then when it gets to that part in the movie, I'm thinking, well, is that what this article writer was talking about? Like this whole like, you're not Spider-Man, Miles Morales, because you got bitten by the spider that was supposed to bite the Peter Parker in this world, and now this world is all messed up because of you. And I just, I didn't like that
Well, I did.
necessarily.
I did see someone in the Keep Spectacular Spider-Man Alive Facebook group say, "I'm not seeing this. Not even for spectacular. Fuck Miles Morales."
Look,
Yeah,
I
and that's
mean,
just dumb.
This, yeah, that is dumb.
listen, if you have not gotten on board, and there's a certain somebody on a certain podcast that I will not name who he is, but he has said he will never go see it. He's never seen the first one. He will never go see it on principle. And that's fine. He's missing out on joy.
And it's a
That, that's
joyful
that's
and
my
both
that's
and
my
both
response to those type of people. You want to not go
yeah.
see it? You want to say F Miles Morales? Fine. That's your prerogative. Congratulations, you're an army of 10. Okay, because I guarantee you, there is scores of people that have gone to see this movie.
Yeah, kick Little Mermaid's ass.
It destroyed. It destroyed the box office. Like it owned it. One of the best openings ever. It's justified its existence. There is no doubt in my mind right now.
It beat Frozen.
It beat fucking Frozen, man.
Good. Good.
Miles did not let it go. Okay.
And so you know what? Some other people like the Oak of, like you've mentioned, they're not letting it go either.
They never let it go. And here's again to my quibble about this movie is that it is a part one of a two-part movie. It's it is a issue, as I don't know how much of this movie stands on. I know it going in, but how much does this movie stand on its own? And that was kind of my worry going in, and it stands okay on its own. Everybody's talking about how great of a movie it is, and it's great. It's a great film. Don't misunderstand. I gave it an A- because of my minor quibbles.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good movie. but it's an incomplete movie. And I think when we see the second one next year, which
Can't wait.
did it get officially pushed?
I think it's March.
December 2001. I went to see a movie, one of my all-time favorites, based on a book series that I love. And the way it ended, someone didn't get the notes, got a person in the audience stood up and said, "What the hell?" It was Fellowship of the Ring.
Listen, I knew that it was part one of a 3-part movie because I had one of the biggest Tolkien fans you can find in my dad with me. I knew that going in.
Yeah, I've read the Silmarillion not once, not twice, but thrice.
So, okay, so let's. We got people. I mean, it is okay. Matthew brings up Empire Strikes Back. Okay, yes, but Empire is a complete movie with a great cliffhanger. And I guess people are saying it's the Empire Strikes Back of the trilogy. Okay, fine. All right. How do we feel about Jessica Drew Spider-Woman?
She was all right.
She was fine.
Yeah.
She was a creative decision that I was like, okay. I'm not a giant Jessica Drew fan, so I'm not one of those that's like pounding the table for her to act like she did in the comics and look like she did in the comics.
Wait, you haven't watched the cartoon on Disney Plus yet?
I have not. I have not. Even on the recommendation of the Walp and Web Snappers guys, I have not.
Love those guys.
They were great. Hang on, I understood that reference. So, yeah, if you have Greg's talking about our 2 episodes ago. So no, Jessica was fine. I liked that she kind of had a role with Gwen. I did like that element.
She is like Gwen's mentor, like how Peter was Miles' mentor.
Yeah. I did enjoy how Baby May and Miguel, he interacted with her. Like, that was funny. I was like, because he's trying so hard not to, like, internally, he's trying no, because I mean, dude. But yeah, I really liked Gwen showing up, and I liked how Miles's mom lets him off the hook.
Yeah.
I really liked the realization he came up with. And, when he tells the woman he thinks is his mom, that, he's Spider-Man. I really liked that scene. I thought that was
Is that a cosplay thing?
Do what?
Is that a dress as her favorite character thing? That's what she said in response.
Yeah. Yeah. This success proving Marvel is wrong. I don't want to get into the...
No.
Okay. Damn it, Tevia.
Okay.
Not
as long as Tom Brevoort is still there.
Look, first things first. This is not going to change Marvel's mind. It's not. This movie does nothing to change the mind of anybody at Marvel. And anybody that thinks that way is wrong.
You're setting yourself up for disappointment.
That's exactly my next point.
Yeah, speaking of people who are setting themselves up for disappointment, we're going to talk about that a little bit in a few minutes too.
You mean the thing that we've talked about on this show multiple times that we have to fucking talk about again? Mm-hmm. That thing? God. Y'all are gonna break me on this shit. I am so sick of these sycophants that do not understand. We have given you multiple takes on this. We spent 25 minutes on the last interview on Spectacular Radio, having to go the fuck over this.
All right.
Still don't get it. Greg,
Hey, they get mad
and
at us when we
scene.
post that.
do what?
They get mad at us when we post that. So
Oh, I know.
yeah, you were. So wait, should
Let's
especially since
segue
I'm-
into
should we
let's
talk
segue
about
into
the spectacular
Keaton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk
Here's how
about
I felt about it. I was ecstatic to see him. I love that he was there. I love the recognition, and it was a nod towards Spectacular. That's all it was. As that, I love it. I do not take it seriously as canon to Spectacular, and for a few reasons. One, that wasn't the right model for George Stacy.
Well,
I mean, they went so far they could have gone. I wish they'd been able to do that. So, but again, it's a mere quibble. These are all just quibbles.
Right.
Number two, I do not see the Spectacular version of Peter being that much of a conformist. I do not think he would be going along with this. If anything, I think the guy who won't look the other way ever again. If he wasn't helping Miles, he would be looking for another way that doesn't kill Miles' father and
Sure.
doesn't. But you know what? This is not a Spectacular Spider-Man movie, so
yeah.
I do not expect him to be a main character. I was happy with the nod. I was happy with the recognition. Sheik's design, Josh Keaton's voiceover. On that note, I was very happy about it. So as long as I don't take it seriously, I'm happy with it. If I take it seriously, I start nitpicking. Why is he going along with this? And on that note, there isn't going to be a third season of Spectacular Spider-Man, as Zach just ranted. Stop taking this as a sign. It is not a sign. I am sure Josh will voice Spidey again at some point. It's not going to be a third season of Spectacular. It might be another cameo. It might be a video game. It could be anything. We're not getting the third season of Spectacular.
So, Walter, your question marks because you probably haven't gone back and listened to these episodes. So let me explain for those that are new to the show. Okay. As we're winding down Spec Radio, there's this movement that started on Twitter to do a season to revive Spectacular Spider-Man with a season 3. The next to last episode, the penultimate episode, we discussed at length with both Greg Weisman and Victor Cook why it was not going to happen. What happened, explain how everything went down, and give you as detailed and definitive of an answer as to why there wasn't a season 3 as humanly possible. In most cases, such as the case with Young Justice, it's just not picked up for whatever reason. Spec was not picked up because of the internal squabbles going on thanks to the Disney merger.
It was before the Disney merger even.
Yeah.
It was the fact that Sony owned Spectacular Spider-Man. Marvel and Disney now own the TV rights to Spider-Man. So they can't make the show without licensing it again from Marvel and Disney. And Marvel and Disney couldn't make a third season of Spectacular without licensing it from Sony. They're not going to do that.
There are 2 shows that are owned by Sony: Spectacular Spider-Man and the MTV series. They licensed the show to Disney to broadcast on Disney Plus. Disney bought the streaming rights for those 2 shows and brought them over to Disney Plus. That's it. It's no different than Ultimate Spider-Man, no different than the 90s show, no different than any of the others. A little bit different than the others because they had to make an agreement with Sony. That's how you're seeing Venom and Homecoming on Disney Plus. It's the same.
And it's on Netflix too.
Yeah. Well, it was. I don't know if it's still on Netflix. I think it's jumped off Netflix.
Oh, okay.
I think now it's. But again, that's part of their deal. Sony made a deal with Netflix. They get the first run stream rights of all the new stuff. Then it goes to Disney Plus for the second run. It's very similar to how they license things out in terms of broadcasting rights. Turner Turner, TNT, TBS, they'll buy, broadcasting rights first run for new films, and they'll play them even if they're not Warner or Turner owned films. That's just the way it goes. Especially with Sony. Sony has no streaming service, so they get to make these type of deals. They're not having to sit there and pay for all the overhead, so they get to pay for license. They just get to pay the licensing rights. And so some saying that Sony may end up being the smartest studio because they're not having to develop all that infrastructure. Now, obviously, with the writer's strike and everything going on with that, everything's on hold, and it has a lot to do with streaming. But, and Greg, you can probably speak a little bit more because you have probably better insider knowledge than most. But again, there's not going to be a season 3. This is a nod. It was a great nod. I enjoyed it. I liked how they incorporated issue 90 of Amazing Spider-Man and made it a key event. I liked the little things like referencing how Gwen Stacy always falls for Spider-Man. Right?
I was like, that's
and then
dark.
it never ends well.
I mean, that is a dark line when you understand the meaning behind it. To a kid, she just thinks, oh, she falls in love with Spider-Man. No, snack crackling pop. So again, look, at the end of the day, I got a little angry. My apologies, but I get so irritated when we try to give you as definitive of answers to things as we can, especially given the fact that Greg has a good relationship with Greg Weisman, who would know better than anybody else what it means.
I think it's safe to say Wiseman is a very good friend of this network.
Yes. Great guy. So, off the soapbox, next topic. Any other things we want to touch upon?
A lot of things.
Spot, I guess.
I thought Spot was great.
Listen, Spot normally is a joke. Okay.
He's like the classic Spider-Man thing where, well, it seems like a classic thing where these guys have their power sets are practically godlike, but they just rob banks. You know?
He was comedic. He was entertaining. The use of his powers was very innovative. As a 90s show kid, I enjoy the Spot because of the time dilation portals. So I dig it.
He does start to get scary at the end, which is good.
Yeah, it
like
gets
a
to get
build
scary.
Up. He gets more powerful and he gets scarier. There is a sense of dread.
Yeah,
it's pretty good.
Listen, they make him a legitimate threat because in theory he should be a very dangerous villain, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's legitimately terrifying by the end of this thing.
Yeah, he's definitely a character that should be terrifying, right? The ability to and when they were doing these reinterpretations and reintroductions during Brand New Day, I was like, but I remember the Spot issue and in particular, and I thought that was one of the better issues that they did.
Who wrote that?
Don't get me lying. So
someone knows.
Kelly, if you want to jump on and give your thoughts, you certainly can.
Come on.
I'll send you the link.
Come on in.
I think she talked about it on Crawl Space, but
I think so.
But yeah, I to me, the Spot is a character that was taken seriously. His design, like his action figure, I didn't love. Okay, not gonna lie, didn't love the action figure.
I love it now that I got it out of the package and I posted it around and I've got it kind of hanging from the
Hang
ceiling
on,
there with
let me
its
blow
little
you up,
portal
Greg.
gimmick.
Let me switch people.
Can you see it? It's a bit hard, but it's
I think I see him. He's right there in the middle, kind of that white figure in the middle there. Yeah.
yeah, right here.
Again, this is Spot. They did well. God, I love that '90s show arc too. Those bitty tentacles. But I am all in on him being a villain here.
Hell yeah.
I'm all in. Injected in my veins. That part I liked. I love the bit with the bread falling out of his stomach. That was great.
I actually hope the comics take note. I mean, if DC can upgrade Mr. Freeze after the animated series got a hold of him, why not?
Yeah.
Again, I'm surprised that we are not getting a Spot story by Zeb Wells.
It's going to happen now. You just said it. And he's in the movie.
I just spoke it into existence. I know. I don't know how I feel. Again, I am. I love the Spot. I love the fact that we get at the end of the film we get the original group.
Yeah. Oh, that was. I was like, that's a team right there.
Speaking of the Spot, I love the design. He wasn't jacked and built like a bodybuilder, which he was in the '90s show. But to be fair, everybody was in the '90s show.
Yeah, he was just kind of like a schlubby scientist, kind of.
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but then he figures it out, and then he becomes more terrifying. It's a great arc there, or a great progression. I don't know.
So what else we got? We got Spot. We talked about Miles and Gwen.
I liked Spider-Punk a lot.
Yes, we didn't talk about him.
And the thing is because we reviewed the recent miniseries on the Patreon, and I feel like, I mean, he's a cool looking character. But I think they did. There's really something. I don't know if it's like the movie version just has this. I'm gonna do a bit here. He's got the exaggerated swagger of a British punk, and it's kind of like
this is a Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's kind of jokey, kind of like a pastiche thing, but I think it works better than. I think it kind of works a little better than what we've gotten in the miniseries.
I loved all the details on his guitar, all the decals and stickers and things he added.
It just kind of, I don't know, and I think Kelly said this on our Discord, like he has a voice now, whereas he didn't. I mean, he had a voice in the comics, but it was kind of, I think maybe that was my problem with it, was like the voice, because especially in the miniseries, like I said something like, well, it's okay, but some of the dialogue I'm just kind of like it seemed too like skewing too young for me. And I feel like I'm not that old, but there's this thing, like, I don't know, it was just kind of too hello fellow kids. But
Steve Buscemi.
Something about this version, it feels right, and I'm like all in on that guy now.
Listen, this
and does a great job. So
Ziegler's Spider-Punk was something that I really liked.
I liked it. I liked the art a lot. That was the thing. The art on that book was great, and it fit the whole idea of the.
I do like how they
punk thing.
I do like how they kind of make punk closer to what Slott had envisioned for him, right? Because originally he was supposed to be Spidey UK, and they kind of spun him off as
well. Well, what it was I'll tell this story again. Slott didn't Slott, like in the first Spider-Verse event from 2014, he just wrote in the script, "Oh, Spider UK is there," and there was no like notes on what it looked like. And Olivier Coipel drew Spider-Punk essentially, and Slott was like, "This guy's cool. Who is that?" And Olivier Coipel said, "Oh, that's Spider UK." And Slott's like, "Oh, that that's not what I was thinking." When because he meant like the Brian Braddock,
Yeah,
guy, whatever.
Captain Britain.
Yeah, the Captain Britain thing, like, so then basically, I think then Slott maybe, I don't know who then like retooled it into Spider Punk, but that was,
yeah,
that was what happened there. It was like a happy accident.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I would say, well, it's interesting too because when I saw his design, like the action figure, I was kind of like, this is fine, but it's a little more like he doesn't have like he has a costume, of course, but he has like more of a standard costume with, in the comics, but with a leather jacket and the Liberty spikes on the mask. And seeing the action figure, I was like, yeah, like I get it. They're kind of reinventing it a bit. They're making it a little more, you know, rough around the edges and thrown together and gritty and
I think it looks better for what it is.
And honestly, yeah, like in the movie it just looks great.
I honestly think
again, I'm all in. I'm like, this is the guy.
I retroactively like the figures better now that I've seen the film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wish that they hadn't came out before the film.
I was at a little event this past weekend, and a toy vendor had some of them out there, and I didn't look at them too closely, but I saw the 2099 one, and I was like, I saw like the top half, and I was like, that looks really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree with Masum.
Yeah.
Given the initial merch leaks that's had Cyber Spider-Man, I actually expected the character to actually make an appearance longer than 2 seconds.
I was surprised at that too. But I think
they wanted to sell a big figure.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like, oh, this is an interesting version. We can make a toy out of that. And then there's like, you see them around, but there's no speaking role or anything.
Yeah. Brad this is not Duke. This is not Crawl Space. That was just a one-off. Anyway, I liked it. Got a lot of questions in the chat right now, so
it makes sense. Them, Spider-Gwen and Spider-Punk being friends makes sense because they have the music connection.
Yes. And I liked how she became his.
He's a rebel. She's a bit of a rebel too. So
like they're kindred spirits, and I think that it also
they're different. They're the same. Yeah.
It kind of made it fun for Miles to be jealous because he had nothing to be jealous about, right? But and
it is cool how Hobie Spider-Punk he also like it's cool that he ends up helping out Miles, and he teaches Miles some things. He's like, oh, you want to do that with your whole hand, not just your fingertips, and then it all comes back around. Yeah, he's cool. I like him a lot.
I wasn't expecting they weren't expecting live action Prowler. I love that. That was great.
That was great. Yep.
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are like expected go-to areas, but I wouldn't have been disappointed. I did like the reference to. I was glad that wasn't just something that they put in the trailer. That they actually make the reference to No Way Home.
Give us Mando's Scorpion if the movies aren't going to.
It's time. It is time for that. He's not on Better Call Saul anymore. It's time we get that plot thread back up.
Renew Your Vows group, that was great. Again, little small cameos. I was
barely
nice
saw them in there,
but it's a blink and you miss type thing. This is going to be one of those that you're going to sit there and you're going to watch it on like quarter speed, or certain scenes like the Spider Society, just to see which ones you could find, because they had a lot of things made up.
Someone that's going to this movie repeatedly just to write down every Spider-Man they see.
So, you know,
Or they
like
already
I
have
said,
a copy of the Chinese bootleg.
or they got a Fire Stick and they got it jailbroken. Not that we are endorsing that for any reason.
No.
That
Piracy is wrong.
piracy is wrong.
Arr.
Arr,
No,
don't
piracy
sail
is
the
wrong.
seven seas. Um, yeah, I'll call you Mass. My bad. I blanked on your name for a second, buddy. Spider-Man India was great.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun. I liked how they smashed Mumbai and New York City
Oh,
into
wait.
one.
The moment the cops started running for the child, did your mind go there to George Stacy's death? Did it go there? Mine did
Not
immediately.
not really until it was like, oh, canon event averted, and it said ASM 90. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or I think it was around there. Anyway, like I'm not sure if I understood it at first, but when it said that, it's like, oh yes, I understand that reference now.
I don't. Okay. Another question by Tevia. Anybody else have any other questions? Throw it in the chat because we're at the Q&A section of the episode.
I'm
Do you
not ready
think,
to say he wants to kill my. Oh, read the question for the audio.
for the audio listeners, do you believe Spider-Man 2099 wants to kill Miles Morales? Because holy shit, 2099 was super intense in this movie.
I don't think he wants to kill him. I think he wants to stop him by any means necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think it was. He wants to stop him. That's bottom line. He just wants to stop him because he thinks that he's going to cause a cataclysmic event, and he doesn't have the faith and the trust in him that say a Peter B. Parker does. I did also enjoy the scenes with Peter B. and Miles,
Of course.
talking about how he inspired him to have a child.
Yeah.
That was great. I also love the MJ scene.
Yeah, because he said, I wanted to have a child because if they grew up anything like you, it would, it would be worth it. It would be, yeah. Just that's a very nice, it's a very nice moment. It strengthens their bond, and it shows that like the first movie really, that relationship really means something, well, to both of them, because Miles is like, he misses him too, and yeah.
He misses everybody, and so the fact that everybody that he misses is coming to his rescue, I think, is great.
Yes.
Thematically.
Yes.
So
The MJ scene was very nice, like you
Yeah.
were saying, Zach. People are saying like, she's not in these movies a lot, but when she is, she tells it like it is. She packs quite a punch. So
she doesn't take Peter B's BS, and that's great.
And that's also how you write Mary Jane. Mary Jane shouldn't take Peter's BS.
Misery Brick, I did talk about characterization of Spot a little bit. He's very good. I like his origin story. I like how they tied it into last movie. I think he's elevated to a level that I think they tried to do in the 90s show, but never quite got there. Obviously, with the comics, I mean, I'm a huge fan of James DeMatteis, and he made him in the Legion of Losers, so it's not like he's a character that's been taken seriously a lot. So I do like that they've elevated that character, and I think he would have been fun to see on in live action too.
it's like he has these universe imploding powers, so it's like, yeah, you better take him seriously.
Now, here's the thing with live action.
Someone Dr. Doom should be making use of, like he does Molecule Man.
Yeah.
Live action, it could easily get to being hokey. I think he works probably better in animation just because of that.
He's a stunning visual.
Yeah. And I wanted to say, I thought about this when we were talking about like, oh, this is like, this is like art, and like the animation, is great and everything. Like, I do feel like, man, these comic book superheroes, like, in some ways, they're being done a disservice in live action. I kind of think that animation, cartoons, that's sort of the way to go.
There is
I love the Avengers movies. I will take the first season and a half of Earth's Mightiest Heroes over the Avengers movies. That's not me dissing the movies. That's high praise for that show.
Yeah.
To me, I view Earth's Mightiest Heroes and Spectacular Spider-Man in the same level as Batman the Animated Series.
Yes, me too.
They are the definitive, what I view is the definitive reimaginings of in animation of those particular franchises. And you could even add Superman to that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think those four are massive pillars. I just recently did a whole rewatch of Earth's Mightiest Heroes. And if I was to introduce somebody to the Avengers, that would be my gateway. So
speaking of visuals, Renaissance Vulture, that was fantastic.
Yes.
I was very pleased with that entire bit. The Renaissance Vulture was not something that I was, expecting. Mass says, I hope Beyond Spider-Verse expands on Spider-Bite. It's very random how she helped Miles then join Gwen's team. Yeah.
They had a
She's
couple moments. They had a
She's-
couple
she's-
like small moments. I don't know.
She had a few small moments, but it really wasn't. There again, Tevia. There's also a lot of, you know what? Greg and I are eventually going to do that other show one of these days.
Eventually.
So again, I definitely echo Masses. For all his complaints, it's one of the best comic book movies in a very long time.
And we're comic book fans. We're always going to have complaints and quibbles with these things. We just bring so much baggage to them.
I don't think he was going to bite Vulture. Duke,
Well, he can stun people with his bite, I think.
Right.
I don't. Yeah, like they
You-
didn't really go.
listen,
They didn't
you
go
recently
into it.
read the series, so I'm going to defer
Well,
to you.
I don't think he really bit anyone. Now that I think, in that first year, like he has the fangs, but I'm trying to. I think maybe he bites somebody, but maybe not. I don't know.
Again,
Oh yeah, he does like near the end of it. I think he and I think it doesn't kill them.
just
I don't
paralyzed.
think. Yeah, I think it's just like a paralyzing thing. It's actually that. What was he? He like did you guys? I don't think I haven't seen anyone talk about this. He was injecting something into himself. What do you think that was all about? Because I know
Bane's Venom. He got that from another multiverse. Wait, they can't go into DC's multiverse, can they?
Because I wonder what that was all about.
Good catch. Very good catch.
Maybe that's going to be a plot point in the next film.
The only thing, I'm thinking maybe it has something to do with how he got his powers. I think about how in his,
Might explain why he was so violent.
yeah.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
wondering if
I got people asking me. I went on my rant, man.
That was one of the first things he did.
I couldn't let that go.
I said my piece about Spectacular.
Misery. Yeah, that I was thinking that because the whole thing about his origin, everybody is that read his first issue, but Rapture is a drug in the 2099 universe that's basically highly addictive. You can't kick it, and because of stuff, Miguel gets it unwillingly, and he does his experiment he tries to rewrite his genetic code to kick the drug, and he basically gets spider powers. Read the whole first issue, you'll understand, what I'm leaving out here. But I guess I'm wondering if maybe they're making it so that he's he didn't actually kick the addiction in this. But maybe they won't go into it. But I could see, I think about the third movie, and I could see them maybe opening with more of Miguel's backstory in the third one.
You know what? Yeah, that would be fun. Eric Porter has a good point. How come Sony can appease fan base with Marvel Comics? Because again,
make good movies. That's how.
Look. Lord and Miller know what the hell they're doing. They have proven that with every property they've touched. They made 21 Jump Street into something that's viable. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, 21 Jump Street was
that's
just a
funny.
cheesy 80s TV show.
It's pretty funny too, those movies.
And they turned it into an absolute gold mine of buddy comedy. So I think when they look at but at the same time, they took that cheesy 80s film and they treated it with the property with reverence and respect. You know, the way they incorporated that original franchise in, I thought was genius. If you've never seen it, but even though they were writing a comedy, they treat it with respect. So anytime that they have touched a property, whether it be the Lego Movie, I mean, the Lego Movie shouldn't have freaking worked. It was going to be a 90-minute toy commercial. That's what everybody thought, and it had heart. They wrote heart into it. They respected their audience. That's the thing that's the difference right now between Sony with this fan base and Marvel Comics. At the end of the day, all the stuff that's we talked about in the last episode, what you can boil it down to is, do you respect your readers and or viewers? Respect them enough to treat them with respect instead of treating them with contempt. And I think that boils it down. Yes, but I still, hang on. I don't necessarily agree with that, because you look at Phase 4 has been very hot and cold for me. There's things I've really liked about Phase 4, and there's things I didn't like about Phase 4. Okay? Shang-Chi, Multiverse of Madness, No Way Home. They've done well. Yeah. They do treat the audience with respect. Marvel Studios does.
Different entity than the comics.
But again, it is an entirely different... Yes, Kevin Feige is technically over everything now that finally Perlmutter is out.
The comics are just small potatoes.
But again, the comics
are an IP factory.
The comics are an IP factory, and they're essentially a tax write-off.
If you want to think of it that way, I mean, you're maybe not wrong.
And say what you will about what Slott did with this Spider-Verse concept, but him and Bendis with the Spider-Men and Spider-Verse, they've made it. They took out the stupid inheritors.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm just, will the inheritors show up? Keep them far away from this. I'm sorry, Paul. Paul, Paul thinks they're gonna bring the inheritors in. I don't. It's gonna take away too much.
Was supposed to be a one-shot villain. He was never supposed to come back after that first story, and then.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with the other. They basically took a half-baked idea of Straczynski's and well, what would happen if you brought back Moreland? And he's like, well, all right, we're gonna make it an event. What?
It was it was around that time editorial started hijacking his book.
Yeah, 100%. And so, we'll
see how long Captain America lasts.
Yeah. Again, but here's the thing. I trust Lord and Miller to adapt and take the best elements and do what Marvel Studios has done, which is take the best elements of the stories and adapt them to screen. I give them all the credit, but again, this is part 2 of a 2-part story. If this was a Peter-driven Spider-Verse story, I think it would probably have the inheritors. But again, with Miles being the driving force, Miles and Gwen,
Gwen
being the driving force, I just don't see it.
I think it would be interesting. It was posited on Paul's Comic Binge review of this movie. His guest, Sketchcraft, posited that now this movie had all the spider people. The next movie should have all the villains, all these Sinister Six people. Now that would be insane, but I could see that being a huge
Yeah,
Like
go get 90s
Freefall.
cartoon.com Spectacular Green Goblin. Go get.
I don't I don't know how to feel about that.
Well,
Yeah,
it would just.
they're not doing that. They're not
But
doing that.
it would be interesting though if they had this thing where like Spot, because you had essentially you would have like an Avengers Endgame moment where you have like all the spider heroes fighting against Slot Freudian slip, uh, all the
Yes.
all the spider heroes fighting against Spot, and Spot's like, okay,
Freudian
and he
slip.
brings he and Spot pulls out like a bunch of variations of Sinister Six, Spider-Man villains, etc., etc. So there's this huge like, I mean, it would be like it would be nuts, but I don't know. I mean, that's just a little fun idea. The story's a
Well,
little more personal than that, but you never know.
and that's the thing is I think you can really run the risk of it stop being a personal story.
Sure,
A
because it
lot of
is.
villains have hurt this franchise in the movies in the past. No Way Home pulled it off, but Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Be
Yeah.
careful.
Again,
It would be ambitious and a bold move if they were to do something like
On the other hand, Kingpin had a bunch of villains working for him.
That's yes, exactly. Like in the first movie, there's like there's a few villains
Liv
now. Like
Octavius.
yeah, now you just multiply that by like 100.
yeah. I mean, look, until we get a trailer, till we get a teaser.
I'm not. I mean, I'm not expecting it. I'm just saying it's a fun little speculation.
So, and Mass brings up a good point. I mean, this isn't Sony Marvel. This isn't Sony making a great movie. It's Lord Miller. Sony Marvel Studios are both thinking about making their respective IPs viable indefinitely.
Sure.
To be fair, Sony was also smart enough to hire Lord Miller to do this.
Yeah, I was gonna say they made the right choice, and they gave them the creative latitude. But again, that also goes into there's a difference between Sony Pictures Animation. It's a whole different department than Sony Studios. Though I kind of cringed whenever we saw Pascal pictures. I was like, oh, God.
That's fine. Whatever.
I cringe. I know she's been a part of it since the beginning, and I get it, but like, she's left Sony. She needs. I know she gets producer credit in perpetuity. I get it, but I was like, I did not see a picture of Stanley. He was in the first movie, but I don't think he was in this movie.
I didn't notice one either. Maybe next movie.
So, I wouldn't say that, Tevia. Sony live action really doesn't give a damn about Spider-Man. No, they do. They make a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
They look. They make more money working with Marvel than the diminishing amount of returns that they were getting without working with Marvel. And look, if this ends up grossing $1 billion, like
it will.
That's a massive win.
At the
An
rate
animated property becomes a tentpole for the rest of your studio. It's a massive win.
Also, one thing to remember, Sony made Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2 back in the day.
If they have the right people involved and they let somebody like a Raimi, look, I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of interested in that Kraven the Hunter movie. I shouldn't be. I don't want to be. I want to hate it. I want to hate it.
And they made that Morbius movie also.
Listen,
speaking of, I'm going to plug it. Voices from the Eerie, our Roy Sato interview. He was one of the animators on Gargoyles, and then he went to become the head animator on Morbius. He disses that movie on my show.
I think everybody disses that movie because there was a reason it got pushed 12 times. Okay? It was not a good movie. Time. They shot the movie, they cut the movie, and then they're going, what have we done?
And then internet trolls manipulated them into re-releasing it.
Oh, dude, that was funny. That was so funny. But again, okay. And I get what you're saying, Duke, because you've said this several times in the chat. My only problem with the movie was that it was a cliffhanger. Yes.
In a year, if it's good, it won't be a problem anymore.
Exactly. Exactly. My dad had the same problem, but he didn't know that it was part one of part two of a 2-part movie. I didn't warn him ahead of time because I wanted to get his honest to God take. He enjoyed it. He had started watching the first movie on the flight. And then he got caught. He got like to the same spot in the damn movie. So he had not seen it. But he was watching it on TV on his flight down, and he got to the same spot, and he had to change planes, and so he gets back up on the plane and starts watching it again, gets to the same part of the movie, and then he freaking lands. So he never got to finish it. Are you flipping kidding me? That's awesome. Winnipeg Webhead, one of our patrons.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened at the end of my first showing of Fellowship of the Ring. Someone in the theater screamed.
Good for Spider-Verse, at least we did get to see part 3. Exactly. We know there's a part 3.
Something to look forward to.
We have something to look forward to, because right now it looks like Tom Holland's taking a year off, so he's not going to be starring in Spider-Man.
And you know what? We also got PS5 Spidey later this year to tide us over.
Yeah. I've actually been playing Guardians today. The new Guardians game, and it's actually really good. I really enjoyed it. The soundtrack is bomb. Especially if you like...
yeah. The score in this movie. The score in this movie is great. I think it might be better than the last score. Because I've been listening to that.
Are we gonna talk about the music?
Yeah, I'm starting right now.
To come on the show tonight, and I didn't see his DM until after we started. But yes, I understand that reference, Greg. Adam doesn't, but we'll talk about it off air. Yes, it's only on PS5. Sorry to tell you, and for very good reason. There's a reason it's only on PS5. I don't think they would have been able to make the game work.
The way they expanded upon the city, now you can go into Queens and Brooklyn.
The expansion of the city, the graphics, the light tracing, the way the water stuff. There's when you watch those 12 minutes of footage, you can tell that it is a pure PS5 game. And if they had tried to make it for both platforms, I think it would have been broken. And I don't think you would have gotten what you got. It would have been significantly diminished. Yes, we actually did get an official date. It is October 20th. Pre-orders are up now. I don't like the costumes. We were talking about this in our chat.
Oh, yeah.
Those costumes are ass.
Those
sorry.
Like those pre-order exclusives. There's one I like, but they're just all over-designed. For the most part, no offense to the artists, but
yeah,
that's video games.
Listen, Winnipeg Webhead, you and I both, buddy. That's the only reason I'm getting a PS5. Actually, no, it's not. I play Madden, I play other games, so like I am. But like, I'm getting it for Spider-Man. Let's put it that way. And by the way, I was looking on eBay. You can get one for pretty cheap now on eBay. The scalpers are having to sell it for below market price.
They're more widely available now.
Yep. So
I've got one.
The scalpers have finally lost. Hallelujah. Praise Jesus. I haven't played Street Fighter in so effing long, Tevye. So, like, look, I have the same opinion about these pre-order costumes that I have, and we'll talk about this, I think, on the next episode when we have the full group. Because obviously we'll have some more of the people. But I have my opinion about most of the Insomniac design costumes is that they're terrible. I don't like hardly any of them. The first game, I never like if they were not comics based, I didn't use them. I didn't care for them. There was a ton that I didn't care for. The most of the Insomniac stuff, I was like, eh. I enjoyed their interpretation of classic costumes. I am a fan of the Kane costume, even though there are certain people that fucking hate it because of the unnecessary lines. And I'm like, the only part that I probably don't like about it is the red lines on the black part, right? But like the two-tone scarlet part on the torso, I love that. I love it. I love their Ben Reilly. Their Ben Reilly costume is bomb diggity. As soon as I can get that costume, that's pretty much what I used. So again, Lord Miller, I think, have done a really good job. They have a reverence and respect for the Spider-Man comic, and I think that they have a reverence and respect for the IPs that were developed outside of during that Spider-Verse comic. I think that they took the best. They did exactly what. Yeah.
Does have the benefit of hindsight.
He's plus with the release of this movie and this game, I'm going to need to buy all these suits IRL for his job because he cosplays.
And hey, it's happened before. The Civil War movie was better than the comic, in my opinion.
Civil War was better. Like Winter Soldier's a great, one. But I think it's superior. Like I trust them to take the best elements, and that's what they've done with this movie. I don't want to turn it into a slot bashing session because I'll be honest, I have been enjoying Dan Slott's Adjective of Spider-Man book with Mark Bagley more than I have the last few issues of Amazing.
Low bar.
Damn.
I know it's a low bar, but like Bagley drawing Spider-Man. I just wish it wasn't the Osborn suit. Like
Pepsi Man.
Pepsi Man. Damn it, Neil. He's asleep. So okay. We've been going an hour and a half. Final questions for us in the chat. Yes, even Spider Boy. Spider Boy's an inoffensive part.
Spider Boy might be potentially, well, who knows? Like it could. I heard. I said this in our Discord. This is anecdotal. Comic shop I follow basically says that the first issue sold terribly of Slott's run, but it's all of a sudden become a hot book. Now that could be the Spider Boy effect. It could be the Spider-Verse story has ended effect. I don't know, but again, this is totally anecdotal. It's just one shop, but it's interesting.
Personally, I think the Spider-Verse story probably was one issue too long. Probably could have cut it down an issue at least. Didn't need to be 7 parts, I don't think. But the Peter Parker stuff in that story I thought was really fun. I thought he did a good job. Thought this was his best writing of Silk ever.
And he created the character.
And he created the character because her first appearances were ass and prison ass, respectively.
Oh, Robbie Thompson showed him how.
Robbie Thompson basically destroyed comparatively. His everything after her first appearances is great. When is the next Book of X episode? So part 3 should be broadcasting sometime this month. By the end of the month, it'll be out. And then it will go exclusively to Patreon subscribers. Question: do you feel enough Spider people were on Miles' side when he confronted Miguel before the chase scene? It's been upset that Spec Spidey approved of letting people die in character. We did talk about that too, Jeff. Where it's not. It's a cameo. but it's not. Neither Greg or I really consider that like it's Spec Spidey. It's voiced by Josh Keaton. Yes, it's designed
It's a
by.
nod. It's a
Yeah,
cameo.
it
Yeah.
is. It is and it isn't. It's a version of the character. You know, like it's not the show. I mean, if you want it to be the show character, sure, but it doesn't have to be the show character either. It's kind of like that's how I think about No Way Home, because
Yeah.
I feel like Toby and Andrew in that movie, like they are those characters from the Raimi movie, but and the web movies, but they also kind of aren't because of how like certain things, like the way they wrote some stuff of like how the villains know about certain things, and I don't know, like for all intents and purposes, sure they are those characters, but I think people would have less of a headache if they just think of them as a version of the character, if that makes sense.
I agree. That's what I do. I mean, otherwise I can nitpick that movie to death, and I like
Yeah.
that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me
Agreed.
too.
Missed your take earlier on Ben in this movie, written by Winnipeg Webhead. Other than Andy Samberg, who would you? Oh man, who would
Chris
I?
Pine. I would have brought Chris Pine back.
Yeah, Chris Pine. I think to me would have made a little more sense. Chris Pine, I would have brought back. I would either, I wouldn't have minded Peter. The guy that voices Peter B. I didn't understand.
Yeah, Jake Johnson.
Yeah, Jake Johnson playing Ben. It would have been possibly fun to see Christopher Daniel Barnes.
Yeah.
Or, voice Ben. That would have been kind of fun. One of the past Spidey's voicing Ben. Andy Samberg just didn't fit for me. I mean, he fit for what they did. Let me rephrase. For what they did, he fit. Did I love it? No. Did I feel like it was slightly disrespectful? Yes. But I love the design, and I am going to not hate it because hopefully he's going to have a prominent role in the next film.
It's like, was it funny? Yes. More or less. It's like what they did with.
I didn't laugh, but other people did.
I mean, it's like what they did with Noir in the last one.
Yeah.
I mean,
He is the noir of that team, isn't he?
Yeah, like. And Penny maybe a little bit, but they made Penny kind of see some shit in this one. I get that was almost like she came up really quick, and it's like, oh yeah, there she is. Like, but then you see the side by side like of Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse, and it's like she's seen some shit now.
That's true. Now I will say this: there is a element of what they did with Ben that is technically true, because if you go back and you read those original comics, especially like the Scarlet Spider issues, like the first 6 months of the Clone Saga, you got a lot of the "I'm not a man, I'm a clone," and that's what they were playing off of. So I understood the joke, I just didn't like the joke, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But you just don't take it personally.
I'm not going to take it personally.
Hey, at least it wasn't. Hey, at least it wasn't Anubis Spider, Scarlet Spider. Or
it's like,
Chasm.
they're gonna be in the third one.
Don't talk about Anubis Spider-Man. All right, can't wait till the 17th for the 25th anniversary episode. Yeah, we're going to be doing live callers. I was going to be talking about that here in a little bit, Eric. If you guys want to participate and have your voice heard on the show, that's going to be next Saturday from when this is being recorded.
What time?
Gonna probably start it at 8 p.m. Central Time, 9 p.m. Eastern.
I'll clear my calendar.
If you've got to, man, I don't know if I could answer that in this episode, Duke.
Yeah, it's tough.
Join our Discord, link down in the description, and ask that question maybe in the general chat or something, and maybe I can sit down and write it, because that's like a detailed thing. Do you know a one issue appearance of a spider person? Okay, you're explaining what you were just saying. Question: would you have had Kane Scarlet Spider be the 90s emo version with Ben Reilly being a joke in this movie? I would have liked to have seen Kane, sure. I would expect to see Kane in his Scarlet Spider costume. not as his 90s self.
I think he is in there in his Scarlet Spider costume somewhere.
I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I would have been shocked if he'd been in his 90s suit. And I love his 90s suit. We'll always be slightly disappointed. Yeah. And again, it may have been schedules, and maybe we'll see them in the next film. They basically said that they've got a lot. Well, next film they've got a lot of more room for more cameos. So.
Bring in the Amazing Friends, or did they? And I missed it.
I didn't see Amazing Friends. But Spider-Friends.
You can only have Spider-Man though.
Bring in the one from the Electric Company.
They give more respect than Ben did in the last 10 years. Clone Conspiracy. Yeah, that's true.
Low bar.
Yeah, you can walk over that bar. I think the Penny stuff was an apology to Jake Wyatt, who complained about it Into the Spider-Verse. I don't know about that. Misery Perk. I mean, he's going to get a live-action TV show. They are going to bring back Noir. Question: do you think you would have Chasm in this movie?
No.
God, not. Ben was so mopey at the beginning of the Clone Saga, and they were not subtle about Kane that they might as well have named him Abel instead. All right, good job. The Peter 90s eggs with Orson Benz. Do you remember Peter? I do remember that. Yes. It said 957 originally. I'll change it, Eric. So just be sure you're subscribed. There's a concept of all the clones.
Yeah, and it's great stuff.
It is great stuff. Video Man was there though.
Oh yeah, well, but he, but that was an original character created for that show, I believe.
It was.
Yeah.
So they can probably use that. Oh, because it maybe falls under the Spider-Man villain usage that Sony has.
I have it on good authority that Dr. Noah Body was in there.
Great show. Happy to see Greg.
Thank you.
Jeffrey, where's Kane, by the way? Apparently, according to interviews with Zeb Wells before he went into his bunker and hiding, that Kane is going to show up in a future story. There is plans.
No.
Well, I think it's part of the Ben Reilly meta arc.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, Mayday is cute and adorable. We'll talk about her on Make Mine Mayday.
Yes.
Zach, I'm excited for it, man. It's gonna be cool. 25th anniversary of the website. I have a big monologue that I'm going to be doing at the beginning of the episode. It's probably
just good at them.
It's going to be me talking about it. Going to be me doing a live read of it. I was going to do a pre-recorded video, but I was like, nah, I'll do as our old friend Bill O'Reilly says.
Oh no.
Do it live. We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Jeez, Bill.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Settle down.
Settle down.
And thing sucks.
All right, Bill. All right, you can go now.
That's enough out of him.
That's enough out of you, Bill. We'll do it. I'll do it live, and I'm gonna have fun with it. We're gonna have some fun, and hopefully we'll have some people show up, and the promotion for that is going to be quite a bit. So if you guys want to be a part of the show, and you don't necessarily want to be on camera, you could always leave us a voicemail at 818-925-6631. Any voicemails for the 25th anniversary will be played on that episode.
You also don't actually have to turn your camera on. You can just hang out.
If you don't want to see your face, you can just do this, and you'll have like a little sphere and a little circle, and so what the devil was that? That was if you've never look up Bill O'Reilly loses his shit. Was when he was on Inside Edition, and he literally lost his mind and dropped.
You still have the one I made for you.
Oh yeah, I think it's on this one.
Mike, you are really high.
Thanks, Jonathan Frakes. How do you get on the show? Okay, So, good question. Thank you for bringing that up. So, if you want to be a part of the program, you can either leave the voicemail. I will leave that open on the day of. So, if you just want to call in, you can certainly call in. I can use the soundboard to loop you in. That's how my dad got on, I think, last year, was that he called me during the show. But if you want to be a part of the show, send me a DM on the Facebook page. I will send you the link to StreamYard, and then you can jump on. So, you'll be in the green room, and you'll be able, once you're in the green room, then I can pull you in. Just make sure that you're wearing headphones if you're going to be on screen, or have some headphones on, so that way there's no echoing, because sometimes you'll get an echo, and do that. So if you want to be on the program, just let me know. Looking forward to it. Hopefully we'll have some returning faces, some familiar faces, some everybody across the network, jumping in and saying hi. It's a celebration, man. We're really, really excited about this 25th year, and
Open bar? Will there be an open bar?
I mean, if you want to, I don't necessarily recommend drinking and podcasting, because I used to do that a lot. But I did notice that Adam was drinking a beer tonight, which I respect. I have done drinking and podcasting when I was talking about Shazam.
Of course,
because I needed that to get through it. But yeah, so I will make a Twitter. I'll make a Twitter. I'll make a tweet, and I will post it on our Facebook page. How do you get on the show? So follow us on the social medias. I'll also post it in the Discord, and when we start the promotion, which basically will start tomorrow for the next week. So if you want to be on the show, want to be a part of the show, certainly can. 25th anniversary of Spidey-Dude.com. I am just looking so forward to that. Oh yeah, I've listened to all the old Crawl Space episodes. Well, I mean, look, some of those drunk bits were actually not me really drunk. I was playing a bit, for the record. Let the document reflect. No drinking unless I share. Sorry, Duke. I don't share virtually. But yes, 25th anniversary. I may even have my dad pop in to say hi, because it's hard to believe it's been 25 years. So, and chances are, if it's after his golf game, he's definitely going to have had a couple of drinks in him. So, anyway, I mean, because you can't play golf without drinking a beer. So, Spidey Dude Spider-Man page started actually we predate Crawlspace by 2 months. Fun fact. They started August 8th, and we started June 17th. So, and I think JR started in July. So, oh yeah, man. I listen. I got to get back on Vactorverse, man. I love Vactor. He's a great guy. I really enjoyed it. That's a big thanks to Paul. Paul was a big reason that I did that, and he's a great dude. I was hoping to have him on for the podcasting and podcasters episode. We're going to do another one of those. Greg will be on that episode. I'm hoping to get Vactor, maybe get Collier back on whenever he's not having the technical issues that he was having. But yeah, so we'll definitely have, that's going to be something that we're probably doing one, maybe two more times this year, depending on schedules and stuff like that. So I I'm super proud of that. Also working on another interview, bringing back a guest to talk about Spidey at the movies. Now that so Sean O'Connell, you heard me talk about this book several times with great power. Great book. I can't recommend it enough. It is really, really, really good. I didn't realize it. So I took off the dust cover, right? I've never done this. And they put the stamp up there. It says review copy, not for resale, non-returnable for those that are audio listeners. So yeah. So Great book, though. I really, really enjoyed it. Sean does a great job talking about Spidey's long, arduous journey. And it's, gosh, 300 pages with footnotes. So, and references. So it is it's a good read. It's a great read. If you've not checked it out, it's available on Amazon. So I'm going to try to get Sean back on, especially with all this Spider-Verse hype. Trying to get him on this month. Obviously, he's part of Cinema Blend. He has the Blend Reel podcast as part of that website, and already has seen Flash, I think now twice. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know when I'm going to get to the theater to go see Flash, but the book is out. Yes, so he was on before the book came out. Now I'm having him back on now that the film's out and the book is out. It does not talk about this film, but it does talk about the last one and has an entire chapter devoted to it. So if you want to know like how all that happened, it chronicles everything there. So a few things I didn't know. I learned a few things in that book that I'll definitely talk about on that interview. I don't know when that's going to be. It's maybe sometime this month. So that's why you got to subscribe to the channel. So without further ado, any final thoughts for you two? Adam, first.
It's a great movie. Great time at the theater.
I had a good time.
It looks fantastic.
I did not talk about my theater experience. I had to sit on the front ass row.
Oh.
Yeah, it was bad. So luckily, the saving grace was that it was recliner seats, so I could recline all the way back, so it wasn't quite like doing this. College is going good, man. I'm in my second or third month. Third month, month 3. So it's going good, man. It's going good. Yeah. So I'm just chugging along. I'll be doing homework tomorrow. So, trying to get as much stuff done this month because July is outside of the first week of July. I don't know how much I'm going to get done because I've got to move. I've got to find a house first. So that's fun. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Anyway, so hopefully, without further ado, Greg, you got final thoughts?
I loved it. I look forward to the next one, and
Oh yeah.
I'm just having such a great time as a geek right now. It feels like the first time in a while. I'm looking forward to things again. There's comics I enjoy now coming out. Looking forward to more. Looking forward to the video game. Looking forward to next movie, and the rest. I haven't looked forward to anything Spidey related in a while, so I'm happy about that. Because I do love this character, even if I don't love the current comic book output.
So tell us what's coming up for Voices.
Our next show is coming up at the end of the month. It's the episode Revelations, no relation to the Clone Saga. And Carrie Bates is going to be back on there too. And we're working on getting another guest for Double Jeopardy. That one has been a little bit elusive, but we're trying. After that, we're doing Upgrade, and Tom Adcock's the voice of Lexington returns.
Nice. So if you want to check out the latest episode of Voices, it is free to Patreon subscribers. As Waylon tries
the word
to
from yes, Dynamite Comics wanted to have their say.
Yes, and read more Dynamite Gargoyles comics.
They're good.
Final grades for the movie. We gave them at the beginning, but for those that did not see at the beginning, I gave it an A-.
A-.
Yeah, I'd probably go like A minus somewhere in there. I mean, it's the visuals, like the visuals make it. The plot is interesting, but it's not a bad plot. It's a pretty good plot. So yeah, I mean, go see it.
Yes, we always love the good pet cameos. Waylon likes to make his appearances. So, doggo. No money. Sorry, Duke. If you don't want to spend the money, then you can listen to Voices from the Eerie on your favorite podcasting catcher. You just can't see Greg's lovely face and Jennifer's admittedly more lovely face.
Very lovely face.
Yeah. So,
and Greg's library behind him.
Yeah, and Greg's legendary
Wiseman, not me.
No, yeah. Well, I mean, yours is legendary for an entire because of your display. Your display is legendary. So, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you're listening to the audio edition of this program, as always, thank you to our audio subscribers. Now, the VIPs we always mention here. Let me get okay. There we go. Got the music playing now. All right. So, thanks again for watching. If you want to follow us, you can follow me at Spidey Dude Radio. This follows the YouTube channel on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Spidey Dude Network. Of course, if you are not subscribed, you can find us over on youtube.com/Spidey Dude Radio Network. If you want your voice to be heard on the show, 818-925-6631. That is the voicemail line across the entirety of the Spidey Dude Radio Network. So be sure to leave it under 3 minutes and tell us what show you're calling about, and we'll play it on the respective shows. Of course, got to mention those shows. We got the shows that started it all: Clone Saga Chronicles and Spectacular Radio. Of course, we also have Season 1 of Amazing Spider-Man Classics. That's part of our Vault series of shows that are audio only. And then, of course, we have the Season 2 Amazing Spider-Man Classics, father and son duo Jack and Javi Trujillo talking about Spidey from the beginning. And then we have the Sal Buscema Era podcast, the show about the seminal run of Spectacular Spider-Man drawn by Sal Buscema, starting from the return of the Senator all the way up until shortly before the Clone Saga. Then we have Voices from the Eerie, the show hosted by Greg. He also hosts Spectacular Radio, the sequel/prequel to that show, where it covers the Gargoyles series with Greg Weisman and Jennifer L. Anderson. And, of course, the sister show, Make My Mayday, the show about Spider-Girl and her world. Of course, the Patreon first show, Books of X, Part 3, will be coming out this month, and then it'll be going exclusively to our Patreon subscribers. Got to thank them before we get out of here. Allison, Cindy, Ed, Georgia, Greg, Janelle, Jessica, Catherine, Cindy, Kale, Keegar, Laura Howard, Master Draven, Phoenician, Scott, Vanessa, and Vicky. Thank you very much. As well as the ones you see on screen. I will mention them on the audio editions, but thank you to them. And then our VIP, Scott, Sebastian, Vinkman, and Winnipeg Webhead. Thank you guys for your support over on patreon.com. Without you guys, it would not be possible. So thanks for watching. If you're watching us live here on YouTube, if you're listening to us, though, on that audio edition, thank you, and leave that 5-star review. We'll read that on a future episode. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time here on the Spidey Dude Experience.